Hello, thanks for joining me for Crafternoon. For today's project, I wanted to make a terrarium. Now, essentially what a terrarium is a self-sustaining mini ecosystem. So you have evaporation and condensation, and during the day you have photosynthesis, and then whatever oxygen is created during the day is used at night. So we're going to make two types of terrariums. We're going to make a closed terrarium with ferns, and they require a soil-based potting mix. And we are also going to do an open terrarium with succulents, and they require soil that drains a little quicker, and so we're going to do a sand-based potting mix. So we're going to start with the soil mix. So we're going to do 1 point soil to 1 part perlite. And perlite is volcanic glass, and it adds some lightness to the soil. So the soil is quite dense, and it doesn't let a lot of air movement through the soil, which the roots need. So the perlite just lightens the soil a little bit so that the air can move through it. And to this, we're going to also add 1 part coconut husk. Now, you can also get peat moss, but peat moss is a non-renewable resource because we're using up the peat bogs. So I'm finding that a lot of the garden centers are going away from peat moss, and they're selling coconut husks. Now, one thing about coconut husk is it comes in blocks, and the block is probably about like that big. And when I first got it, I soaked the whole thing, and you let it soak overnight. I didn't realize how much it would expand, and 1 block actually expanded and filled up a huge blue bin. So it does expand quite a bit, so just be aware of that. Okay, so once we have this soil done, we are going to make the potting soil for the succulents. So for the succulent mix, we are going to add 1 part sand, so in total I used 1 cup of sand. And then I'm going to add 1 cup of perlite. So the sand allows the water to go through quicker, so it doesn't absorb as much. And then we're also going to add to that 1/2 cup of, so I used 1 cup of sand, 1 cup of perlite, and 1/2 cup of the coconut husk. And the coconut just soaks up the water, and then instead of all the water draining from the sand, the coconut retains a little bit of the moisture and just allows it to go slowly into the sand. So once we have that mixed up, then we can start our terrariums. And while when you're doing all the mixing, it's good to have something on the table, like a plastic bag or something, so that you can just fold it up and throw it out, so it's easy cleanup. Okay, so we are going to start with our closed terrarium for the ferns. So with the terrariums, we have to add several layers. So the first layer is going to be aquarium gravel. And you can add rocks from outside, but you'll need to clean them. Or you can add marbles. But I found that the Aquarium Gravel is a good size. And the reason for the gravel is it provides drainage for the plants. So if you didn't have the drainage, the plants would stay wet. And if the roots stay wet, then you might get root rot. And the plants would die. So you need that drainage. And then on top of the gravel, you're going to add some charcoal. And what that does is it provides a filtering system for the water. It gets rid of any toxins in the water, which is important for a terrarium. Okay, and then on top of that, we're going to add a little bit of moss. And this just helps the soil to retain a little bit of the moisture so it doesn't all just run through. Okay, and then on top of that, we are going to add our soil. Now it's important, because we're doing different types of plants, it's important to know what type of plants you have and their individual needs. So the type of potting soil is important. The watering, if you need to add water, it's important to understand how much that plant needs, and also how much light it needs. So try to get plants that need the same type of soil, the same type of light, same type of moisture. So now that we have the potting soil in there, we are going to plant our ferns. And I also have, with the fern, I'm also going to put a spider plant in there. So when you plant a plant in the soil, you just want to push it down a little bit and squeeze out any air that is around the roots. And terrariums are perfect for smaller plants. So ferns, African violets, the small African violets are really good as well. And succulents are really good. Really anything that will stay small in a contained area. Okay, so once we have those set up in there, then we just want to add a little bit of water. And we're just going to put a little bit of moss around. Not only does this help retain the moisture in the soil, but it just adds a little aesthetic. Now, if you wanted to, you could break up a pot and add some color in there, and you can also add rocks or sticks. If you wanted to, you could also get like a fairy house, something like that. So it really is, you can do anything with these terrariums. So once you've decorated it, once it has everything in there that you need, then you can seal it. I don't have the lid with me right now, but you would put the lid on. And then for a closed garden, you would check it every month just to make sure that it doesn't need any water. So with ferns, you can tell that it needs water by, first of all, the color. And if it's wilting a little bit, that's also an indication that it needs some water. Okay, so now we're going to do the succulent one. So again, we're going to do gravel because it needs that drainage. Then our next layer is the coal. And just be careful with these because it does let some stuff in the air that it's hard to breathe sometimes, so you might want to open the window and let in some fresh air. All right, and then we're going to add some moss. And then we're going to add our sand-based mix. Okay, now for this one, I'm just going to add a bit of gravel just to add a little bit of color. So I hope you enjoyed my demonstration of how to make terrariums. I'll see you next time for Crafternoon.